All right, guys, here we go, talking about what is the tithe by God's original design. Part 1. So first you have to know that a tithe means a 10th part of your increase. Your increase can be family, time, finances, faith, favor, another day, anything. See, there's 24 hours a day, so there's 2 hours and 40 minutes that don't even belong to you. So to understand the design of the tithe, you have to go back to creation, go back to the design. The first tithe was between Cain and Abel in Genesis chapter 4, verses 2 through 5. God favored Abel over Cain. Not because they both didn't tithe, but because Abel gave his first and his best of the increase. Cain gave the leftovers. See, Abel gave a sacrifice. He felt it when he gave his first. Cain didn't feel the sacrifice. So some of the scriptures I'm going to be reading, some I'm just going to tell you what they are. So Cain and Abel, Genesis 4, verses 2 through 5. See, here's the point of the tithe that I'm going to make really quick, and I'm going to come back to it at the end. God will not ask of us to do anything that he is unwilling to do himself, because he's a good parent, he's a good manager, and he is a good father. See, I won't ever ask my kids to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. Neither should a good manager, neither should a good steward. So now we're going to go to Leviticus chapter 27, verses 30 through 32. So you have all the tithe of the land, of the seed or the fruit is the Lord's. The tithe of the herd or the flock, the 10th shall be holy unto the Lord. 10th is considered holy unto the Lord, which means it's the first and the best is the holy. So we know at this point that the tithe is a 10th of your increase, but the tithe is supposed to be the first and the best because you're supposed to do a sacrifice. See, sacrificing by animals, sure, what we would consider ended, but sacrifice daily did not end. The tithe is our sacrifice. And it's not a sacrifice out of our money per se, it's a sacrifice out of our increase. So now we're going to go to Numbers 18:26. Thus spake the Lord to the Levites, and say unto them, when ye take the children of Israel, the tithes which I have given you, increase, from them to your inheritance, then ye shall offer up a heave offering of it for the Lord, even a 10th part of the tithe. See, God gave them a 10th, that's a tithe that was to them, but then turned around and asked for a 10th back. That's right, he asked. See, God doesn't make you tithe, it is an opportunity. And what I mean by opportunity, you can see in Malachi chapter 3. So a lot of pastors or churches will use this, and they'll only stop at verse 8, like, who was a man to rob God? If you don't tithe, you're not necessarily robbing God because God owns the earth. He owns the whole world. He owns everything. What you're doing is you're robbing God of an opportunity to bless you. That's why he asks for the tithe. He does not demand the tithe. It is an opportunity for you to be blessed. You see this in Malachi chapter 3, verse 10, talking about the opportunity to bless you, but it's also talking about bringing the tithe into the storehouse. Now, a lot of people call this storehouse the church, which it is. But a storehouse is actually what is used to store up your goods in case of famine to be able to take care of everybody in the land. So the tithe in the storehouse can be finances, it can be food, it can be your family. You're going there, you're spending your time, you're building community, you're becoming a pillar and a leader to be able to help those that come in. Anybody who comes in, not just clean-cut Christians and believers. You see, because God was in the business of people. And what I mean by a 10th of your family increase, that means dedicating your children to God and making a promise to God that you will raise them in the way that they should go. That does not mean to kill your kids for those that were like, oh, God said to kill my kids. No, that's not what I said. Don't mince my words. Don't put words in my mouth. So I'm going to tell you guys a story about a couple named Ananias and Sapphira. And you can find them in Acts chapter 5. I'm going to give you guys time to get there, and we're going to go over it in the next video. And we're going to see what the design of bringing things into the storehouse to take care of the community actually is supposed to look like. It's collectivism. Okay, I know I said collectivism, and everybody who's like anti-socialism, anti-communism freaked out. Collectivism is a design by God to take care of community. There is only one country in the world that actually continues this practice, and it is Denmark. And collectivism is an agreed upon by everybody. It is not forced upon you. Again, it is given freely. But a certain man named Ananias with Sapphira his wife sold a possession and kept back part of the price, his wife also being privy to it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet. Peter said to Ananias, Why hath Satan filled thine heart to lie to the Holy Ghost and to keep back part of the price of the land? Thou hast not lied unto men, but unto God. The space of 3 hours, when his wife, not knowing what was done, came in. And Peter answered to her, Tell me whether ye sold the land for so much. And she said, Yea, for so much. You see in verse 5 that Ananias fell dead. So his wife came in, and Peter says, How is it that ye have agreed together to tempt the Spirit of the Lord? Behold, the feet of the men which have buried your husband are at the door, and shall carry you out. The young man came in and found her dead, and carried her forth, and buried her husband. And great fear came upon the church, upon many as heard these things. See, they dropped because they lied. They lied about the price at which they sold, which means they only gave 1/10 of a portion that they said they sold it for, which means they were keeping from the storehouse. They were keeping from the community to hoard for themselves, the same way that Cain hoarded for himself. Now, he wasn't killed, but he was banished. See, now we're going to look at the story of the widow's mite, and we're going to talk about increase out of what you have to give, because not everybody has money, but everybody has time, everybody has another day, everybody's got family, everybody's got an increase. And see, and here's a situation of a tithe out of what you have, out of the food. When Jesus fed the 5,000, he took the 2 loaves and the 3 fish, and he prayed over it, and he broke a piece off of it and kept behind as the tithe, as the increase that God gave them before he fed the 5,000. Again, it's a situation of giving out of your increase. So now we're going to go look at the widow's mite in Mark chapter 12, verses 41 through 44. And Jesus sat over against the treasury, and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury. Many were rich, cast in much. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing. And he called unto his disciples, and saith, Verily I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast more in than all that they have cast into the treasury. For they did cast out of their abundance, but she cast all that she had, even all her living. The reason Jesus said that the widow's gift was much more than those who were wealthy is because she gave out of sacrifice. She gave out of complete faith that God would continue to provide for her. Whereas the wealthy were giving out of their abundance. It didn't bother them one way or another whether they gave it or they didn't give it, because there was no sacrifice. See, the beauty of the tithe is the sacrifice. God can do much more with your 90% than you can with your 100%. But the positioning is, are you willing to let him? Are you willing to sacrifice that 10% of what you have to let him give you increase? There are 41 plus total places throughout the Old and New Testament that talk about the tithing and the 10th part of your increase. And it is so beautiful. I only told you guys a portion. So what is the whole purpose? What is the ultimate design of the tithe? The 10th portion of one's increase. It is to fix your heart posture on what God can do in your life. It is to fix your heart posture on helping people. It is to fix your heart posture on you can't, but God can. So, is God giving a tithe? Yes. See, Jesus is God's first and God's best. When God gave Jesus, he tithed and fixed his heart posture on a new covenant, on not just the genetically born children of Israel, but on anyone, whosoever would call on Jesus and come into relationship and covenant with him, would then also reap the benefits of heaven. It fixed his heart posture like it's designed to fix yours.